Hello, welcome to this space today. We are talking about optimizing life with neurodiversity. And so that can mean a lot of different things. The main ones are usually seen as ADHD or autism, but there's other forms of it as well. And sometimes that can be caused by childhood trauma or PTSD moments that we have lived throughout life. And so we're going to be talking about how to manage these things and how to feel better in life as well. And my name is Brittany Porter. I'm an energy healer and a spiritual coach. And if you like workshops like this, make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I'm doing a TikTok live right now, so I'm going to be talking to the people in the comments here. And if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments on YouTube and I will answer them there as well. And make sure you check out my one-on-one mentorship program if you like this workshop and you want to work together. We can do that to help you manage these things and to optimize it and thrive. Okay. Oh, thank y'all for the follow. I appreciate that. Yeah, less artificial stimuli. Yes, we're going to talk about being overstimulated and things like that too. Okay. So I just wrote down the things that have been the most beneficial for me in my life, because for the majority of my life, I did not know that I was neurodiverse, and I always struggled with why it was so hard to function in the world and why social situations were so difficult. I also didn't realize that I was an empath and light worker, and if you're both, it can be extra overwhelming because you're really feeling into people's emotions and their feelings and their thoughts, stuff going on in their subconscious. So it kind of takes that neurodiversity to like a whole nother level, and so you get overstimulated very easily because you're not only picking up on external things, right, in our environment, like noises and like lights that are too bright and things like that, but we're also picking up on other people's energy fields. And so when you are overstimulated, it kicks on your central nervous system, and then you go in fight or flight. And so that's why a lot of us have struggled with social anxiety because it's not just the external, right, things that are catching our eye, or the noises being too loud, or the lights being too bright. It's literally you reading people, which is a trauma response sometimes. You're doing that out of a safety mechanism because your inner children inside had to learn how to do that. And so when you go out, you're like, oh, people are scary. I might be hurt. I need to be on the watch. So like you're already in fight or flight before you even like get to these situations you're going to sometimes. So that's why inner child healing is very important. I love that you're tapping into your heart chakra with your hair. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first one is setting timers. That has been like so beneficial to me because when you are neurodiverse, a lot of times time is an illusion. Like you either think that you have so much time or you don't have enough time, or worried about hyper focusing. That's where you like get very one track minded and just like go down this rabbit hole and you can't do anything else until you get it done, right? So that sometimes prevents us from doing the thing because we're like, I don't have time to hyper focus. Does that happen to anyone here where like you're cleaning your house or something, or you're working on a project and then it turns out to like 8 hours and you kind of ignore the other things that were going on, right? Oh, good morning. Yeah, it's the struggle is real sometimes. Me with work today, yes, or we'll just keep putting it off. So the reason that you do that sometimes is because your brain, again, like time doesn't work the same for neurodiverse people. You have to have something that is going to alert you that it's time to stop. That way you have a choice on whether you want to continue, or if you hate what you're doing, that's a strong word, I try not to use that, but if you really don't enjoy what you're doing, well, I can just do it for 10 minutes. That has been extremely beneficial. If I don't want to do something, whether it's like go do my laundry, do the dishes, whatever, work on a project, if I set a timer for 10 minutes, I can at least do it for that long. Then I feel really good about myself because I was like, okay, well, a little bit is better than zero. Okay, and y'all know I'll preach all day long. The people that know me, you can literally change your life in 10 minutes. And I know that sounds like a real wild concept, but like if you break everything down in your life to 10-minute increments and work on it in chunks like that, you really pick up forward momentum. and you're retraining your brain, because we have dopamine deficiency, a lot of us that are neurodivergent. You're training your brain that when you do this, you get dopamine, and so then it becomes a exciting thing to do. It's like, I want to go wash the dishes because I have a timer, and if I don't want to do it after 10 minutes, that's fine. If I'm already in it and I want to keep going, that's fine. Set another 10 minutes as like a marker point, right? And then your brain's like, oh, we get a good feeling from this. Now it's rewiring the whole activity. Okay? Because there's like so much shame and guilt that also comes along with executive dysfunctioning, which comes with neurodiversity. That's when like you literally just can't get yourself up to do the thing. Some of that is like a chemical thing that you have going on, and sometimes it's coming from childhood trauma, from things that your parents like said to you or forced you to do or didn't force you to do, right? Or not force you to, but didn't get you to do or teach you how to do. But executive dysfunctioning is real. It's when you are sitting on the couch and your body literally will not let you get up. It is like, we're not doing that. Okay? But I have found that if I can, with my spirit and soul, okay, this is where we're gonna get a little woo and esoteric. Okay, I'm gonna read the comments in just a second. When we think about what would my higher self do? What would future me do? What is a gift that I can give to future me? Can I do it for at least 10 minutes? Like, I will literally set a timer on my phone and do the thing, and 9 times out of 10 I usually end up doing it longer because I'm already up in the forward momentum, but it's just like the initial getting up. And so if you can kind of throw in there like, what would higher self me do? What is something I can do for future me? It really helps you get up and get moving, okay, to get that timer going, right? But then you're giving yourself a choice and you don't feel guilty and shameful. You're like, no, I did 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes is all you got. And that's fine, because that's better than 0, right? And then we're going to celebrate and say, I am so proud of myself because I did that for 10 minutes. And then if you want to keep going, keep going. But keep setting those 10-minute timers, because then it keeps you from hyper-focusing and getting in a hole, because that's not healthy either. And then we get shameful and guilty for hyper-focusing, right? 10-minute timers. Now, I don't use 10-minute timers as much anymore because I've retrained my brain to do this. Like, you don't have to use the timers forever. Or maybe you do. There's like nothing wrong with that, right? It's a highly, highly effective tool. Hello, hey everybody. Okay, I'm gonna give one example and then I'm gonna read some of the comments here. And feel free to leave your comments on YouTube down here on the bottom too. So, one day I'm in my kitchen and piles of dishes. Executive dysfunctioning is kicking in, okay? And I'm like, I'm not doing these. And then I looked and I was like, you know what? I bet future Brittany would love a clean kitchen when she wakes up in the morning. I bet that would make her so incredibly happy and set her day off right if I wash those dishes for her right now. And so I washed them, and the next day I woke up to a clean kitchen and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, thank you so much, past Brittany, because this completely made my day to come into this clean kitchen. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we got to like carrot stick ourselves and like, do I want to throw this jacket on the floor right now? Because that was a big one of mine, of like just tossing things on the floor, like my clothes specifically. And now when I go to do that, I catch myself and I say, what would future Brittany do? Is she the type of person that would throw this on the floor, or would she take a second to put it up? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. That is a quote that has always stuck with me. If you are being not mindful and intentional with the things that you're doing, like the little things, the tiny things, it bleeds into every area of life, because that's the type of person that you are emulating, is not being mindful. And it's nobody's fault. I just want to say that, because executive dysfunctioning is a really real thing. And not a lot of us were taught how to take care of ourselves, or some of us like incurred a lot of trauma in childhood. So these are things that we are reparenting. We are not feeling guilty and shameful for having these things, because it just is what it is. But we do have you know, tools that we can utilize to help us optimize our life. But are you gonna catch it every time? No. Sometimes I still throw things on the floor, okay? But then, like, I'm more self-aware about it now because I'm keeping, like, mindful. Like, there are certain behavioral patterns that you have to keep at, and eventually it will solidify in your life, right? I am not a psychologist, but I did go to school for psychology. Then we changed gears before I went for my master's and became an energy healer and a life coach. So we went. But I still do, like, tons of research on psychology, obviously. Like, I do a lot of research on the way our brain works to help people with. And I'm neurodiverse, so it helps me. So I'm going to give an example of these behavioral things that we can do. So my keys, like my car keys, this could be for anybody, okay? Oh yeah, you learned something new. I'm happy. So my keys, it would cause me so much chaos in the mornings because I would just throw them somewhere and then I would never know where they're at. Like, they would be in the bathroom, on the back of the toilet, like under clothes. Or one time I boiled my keys in a pot of cabbage. Some of you have heard that story before. Or it would just, like, be in my couch cushions or, like, in my sock drawer. Like, just boom. Okay, key bowl, yes. Key bowl. So my friend said, why don't you put your keys in the same place every day? And I was like, that's not possible. Because my brain, when I get home, like, checks out. Like, it's just gone. Like, I just throw those jokers somewhere, right? But then that stuck with me, what she said. And I remember behavioral patterns don't just happen overnight. So I got a key bowl and I started putting my keys in there. Did it happen every time? No. But when I saw them laying somewhere, I would immediately pick them up and I would go put them in the key bowl. Now, 9 times out of 10, they're in the key bowl. And if they don't make it in there and I see them somewhere, immediately go pick them up and go put them in there. Because I'm retraining my brain. These keys, they go in that bowl, right? This can be anything. So the way that neurotypical people function is not going to help you. Okay, you have to find tools and resources that help you. So, like, I know a lot of us probably, like, go on TikTok, like a deep dive. I've picked up a lot of tools from there because learning from neurotypical or neurodivergent people has been much more beneficial for me as far as, like, organization and tools. So one time I saw this video and it was like, you should get a hamper for every single room. Like, just a laundry hamper, right? Like a small one. Whatever doesn't belong in that room, put it in the other room's hamper basket and then put it up later. But at least it's in that room, right? Or have a hamper in every room for clothes. Like, find what works for you. Hooks. Another one was, like, hang hooks up on your wall. Like, my purse goes on this hook, my backpack goes up on this hook, my wallet goes in this bowl, my keys go in this bowl, right? And you have to keep on going and doing those things, like, over and over and over again. You're not going to catch them all at first, and that's okay. But implementing what works for you, okay? If you're looking at organization things from a neurotypical standpoint, it's not going to always work for you because their brain functions differently. So you need to be looking at people's content that is catered towards neurodiversity. That was a huge game changer for me, like, huge. Okay. Because they get it. I'm gonna read some of these comments up here, and then we're gonna do a little bit deeper dive here. What is tornado mode called when it comes to cleaning? That's called hyperfocusing. That is when your brain gets, like, very one-track minded and, like, you're getting your dopamine from that thing. And so you just keep going until that dopamine gives out. But hyperfocusing can work for you very well, but then it can also be, like, a detriment because let's say that you have a whole bunch of things that you need to do during the day, but then you end up doing this one thing for, like, 8 hours. Then you come with the shame and guilt and everything. Right? And then you start tearing yourself down, even though you did something great and cleaned your house. Okay, that's where timers come in, and they're so important to keep you on track. 10 minutes, then reassess. Where are we at? Do I have time to keep going? Is my physical body feeling okay to keep going? Is this still bringing me joy? because now we're in forward movement and we can decide. Or if you're like, no, I need to go grocery shopping. Okay, let's stop, reassess, now move forward, right? Okay, like 2-minute timers, amazing. Okay. I have a problem with clutter and I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, that's another thing called like doom boxes, where like we'll just throw a whole bunch of stuff in the drawer and then not think about it ever again. My friend V in here, we were talking about this the other day, and there was this video, and it was like, if you don't know what is in that drawer, like that junk drawer, like you can't think of off the top of your head, like the top 5 things, you probably don't need that stuff in that drawer, because it's just sitting in there. Like, sometimes you gotta, like, if you're neurodiverse, you really got to work on like minimalizing things, because like the more stuff that you have and accumulate causes more like chaos in your life sometimes. Like, minimalism is great. I'm not saying to like get rid of all your stuff, but those doom boxes that we have, ask yourself, do I even know what's in there? And if not, then you probably don't need it. And we probably need to like do some deep cleaning and deep organization. Okay. I have bags and bags to organize my purse. It needs certain compartments or things that get misplaced. Okay, we're going to talk about lists. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, donate those things because somebody else will need them. Yeah, I need to minimalize. It takes so much, because those, let me tell you about the doom boxes, okay? So, if you have doom boxes full of stuff, this is me too at one point, okay? Every time you walk by that, there's this thing that clicks in your brain that's like, I should clean that out, but you don't. So then you get shameful and guilty for having the doom box. And every time you pass it, shame and guilt. Even if you're not consciously aware of it, it's like, dang, I really should do that. And then you put it on the mental whiteboard, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit more, but the mental whiteboard in your brain, and it takes up space. And negative thoughts take your energy. Like, they literally eat your personal energy. So every time you're walking by that, subconscious, you're like, oh, I should take care of that. Then you don't. Then there's shame and guilt. Now you have less energy. Just go through the box and get rid of the stuff that you don't know is in there, right? And just, it's okay to have doom boxes. Like, I still have some, right? Some of it's like memorable stuff too that I'm keeping. But some of that stuff, like, sometimes we'll just be holding on to stuff just because we don't feel like going through it. That's where executive dysfunctioning comes in. That's where you're like, I don't have time to go through that whole box. Set a timer for 10 minutes. And then praise yourself and celebrate yourself for doing the 10 minutes. And then put it up. And then another day, get it. And do it again, okay? My laundry is its own doom box. I feel that. Laundry is a difficult one for neurodiverse people. Okay, so this is going to be one of the things that has helped me the most in life. So when you are neurodiverse, it's like having a computer with a million tabs open. Just file after file after file after file. And you are running through those files constantly, doing like program checks. And when you do that, it burns you out and exhausts you, because it takes energy to go through all those files constantly. And you're like, I gotta do this, hey Sarah, this, and you just do that all day long. That was me too. I used to do that. And I would just catastrophize constantly, right? Because we're just going down all these negative thought holes and rabbit holes. So what helped me is there's several layers here, okay? So when you are neurodiverse, you don't know what type of energy you're gonna have every day. You might be like on rock star level high energy one day, and then the next day you are completely burnt out and can barely get out of the bed to brush your teeth. That's just how it works. Okay? That's just how our energy works. So when we're having those like very low energy days, we end up berating ourselves and being very shameful and guilty because we only get 1 or 2 things done. And we're like, wow, I'm a failure. And then on the pendulum side of that, when you have a super high energy day, you do as many activities as you possibly can because you know you're going to have a couple low days, and then you end up burning yourself out. And that is actually what causes the low energy days, is utilizing 1,000% of all your energy on a high day. then you're completely done for the next 3 days. Or you hyper focus on that high energy day, done. Because your energy works like a battery. Like you have so much, and all the things you do throughout the day constantly take from that battery, or you have to do activities that give you energy. And a lot of times neurodivergent people aren't the best about self-love and self-care and filling up their own cup. And so most of the time when I'm working with people like clients, they not doing nothing to fill their cup back up. So you just run on fumes constantly. Okay, and I've been there too, like mega burnout in life where like everything is a struggle. So you got to counterbalance. So something that helped me is to make lists of things to do in your life for low, medium, and high energy activities. What can you do while you're laying on the couch? Write out 20 different activities. What can you do that take a little bit more energy, that you're like up and moving, but it's not like you're overhauling your house, doing deep cleaning, right? Then we have high level energy activities that we can do, okay? Where we're up and moving and like going. You need to make a list of these things, and you need to put them up somewhere where you can see them. Because if you just put it in a notebook, it's not even real. You will never see it again, and you won't do it. You have to put it somewhere where you can easily access it and go to, whether that's on your wall or in your phone, because what that's doing is several things. It's clearing your mental whiteboard, because now we're not thinking about all the different activities that we could be doing. It's like, okay, what energy level am I in today? Am I in medium energy? Let me go pick an activity to do off the medium energy list. Then if you're in a low day, you don't feel shameful and guilty because you're like, nah, I still did like 2 or 3 things over here. Then if you're in a high level energy day, don't do all of those things. Mix them up with low energy and medium energy so that you have more to roll over. Energy rolls over. Okay, if you don't use it all up in one day, it will roll over to the next day, I promise you. Okay, but that's our tendency, is to do these like huge spikes like this. But this way you can manage it and still not feel shameful and guilty. So like I have lists in my phone where I have all these different things that I could do, and then I just pick one. But then you have to celebrate yourself for doing it and not what you're not doing. Because what I used to do is I would have a list of 15 activities, and if I didn't do them, I would say, you suck. You should be able to do all these things. Like, get it together. That does not make your brain want to do it, especially if you had trauma as a child. You're not gonna do it. But if you say, I am a rock star for doing 3 things on this list today, and I have so many days ahead of me to do all these other things, it's fine, because your executive dysfunctioning is real. We get so invalidated by listening to content from people that are not neurodivergent, and they're just like, you gotta power through and you gotta do it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take action and do those things, but you gotta have more grace for yourself, because on the opposite side of that, being neurodivergent is a beautiful, beautiful blessing, because you are extremely creative and innovative, and you're a change maker, and we just like function so much differently in the world, and it's amazing. But with that comes this other stuff, right, which you can learn to manage and optimize your life with, but we can't sit here and berate ourselves for the way that we function just because we were born that way or because we had trauma. We need to embrace, okay, and stop feeling shameful and guilty and just say, this is how I am, that's okay, there are tools to help me. Okay, and that's it. But that beating yourself up for things doesn't help anybody, okay, because that used to be me. And it was not good. I'm gonna go back up a little bit so I can read these comments. I'm trying to read them at the same time. Great tips, thank you. It's not days for me, it's hours. I have a high energy hours and low energy. That's another good point too. Sometimes I watched this video, And this guy was talking about break your day up into 3 days instead of 1 day. Break it up into, I think he like said 6 to 12 and 12 to 6 and 6 to 12. Now, everybody's not up those same hours, right? But me, I have such high energy in the morning, and then the afternoon, done. After 2 o'clock, I'm like done, over it. And then in the nighttime, it picks up a little bit. Okay, so I had to learn how to work around my fluctuating energy. So I try and get all the stuff that like high energy activities in the morning time, and then rotate around. So you got to flow with your energy style too. And that's okay. That's just like, figure out what your energy looks like every day. And there's some energy trackers and mood trackers too that you can get like an app for, and better like manage that and keep an eye on it as well. But these lists, just start there. Like, don't overwhelm yourself and pick up like all these tools at one time that I'm talking about. Like, pick one and work on that, because we also don't want to overwhelm ourselves. Like, picking up new tools and implementing them, it takes time. And if you try and do a million of them, because that's a neurodiverse thing, is like we try and take on like so much all at one time and then burn ourselves out and then don't do anything. One, implement that. If it's timers, great. If it's these lists, great. Just do one. So celebrating along the way is one of the most important things, because you are teaching your brain to give you dopamine when you do these things. And because we have dopamine deficiencies, we need to say, when I do an activity, I celebrate myself for how amazing I am, and then my body feels great. And when you do that, you're not only giving yourself dopamine, you're giving yourself energy. Because now what's happening is your executive dysfunctioning is getting the best of you, and it makes you depressed, or it makes you sad to want to think about something, to do something. This is where we flip the script and say, like, if I do the dishes, my kitchen is so clean and I'm so proud of myself. If that's the only thing I do today, great. And if I'm too exhausted to do it, I'm going to set a 10-minute timer, and what I get done is what I get done, and I'm a rock star for doing that. Now all of a sudden it's like, what else can I do? Okay. I came in a little late. Is there more in the list somewhere? Yeah, I'm going to put this on YouTube so you can rewatch it too. Lists have worked, but I'm consistently inconsistent. That's why we got to keep going. We got to put the list somewhere and break it down into the activities thing, because I used to do lists as well and it never stuck. But that's because I didn't break it down into the low energy, medium energy, and high energy activities. Now I have choice and it's not overwhelming. And I had to really learn to celebrate myself, because otherwise I'm not going to want to do more stuff. Right? So there's some other ways that you can work around those lists too. I'm going to show y'all something that has really, really helped me. I meant to pull it up earlier. So a lot of us are timeline shifters, and because it is the new year, we are wanting to reinvent ourselves. We are wanting to completely do an overhaul. When you do that, it is overwhelming, and then you don't do it because there's too many steps involved, right? So this is called the Wheel of Life. You can find it on Google. It's a psychology tool. There's a whole bunch of different ones. It breaks your life down into career, finances, romance, friends, home, career, all these different things, whatever you want your slices to be. What you want to do is create lists for these things and put them up. You can have a whole wall of lists, okay? So let's take finances. When you look at finances, like fixing my finances or improving my finances, that is way too big. And it's very overwhelming. It makes you sad. Okay? But if you take that one section and you make a list for it, and you write like 20 different things that you could do, like watch YouTube videos, talk to like a money person, I don't know what they're called, but you know what I mean? Start a bank account, whatever, the savings account. Break those into smaller things. Like the smaller that you can make it, like the sub bullets, the easier it's going to be for you to tackle. And now we're taking all of that information that's up here on the mental whiteboard and you're taking it out of your brain, and now you're not having to think about it 24/7. Financial advisor, yes, thank you. You're not having to think about it 24/7, because that is what is causing you stress and anxiety a lot of times, is thinking about your whole life. What do I need to do in all areas, and then getting overwhelmed and then not doing it and feeling lost and confused and sad. If you make a list for every section of that wheel of life and you break it down as many sub-bullets as you possibly can, and when I say sub-bullets, I don't mean put something on the list that takes 27 steps, because that is not a sub-bullet. As many things, like let's take laundry, let's take your home, okay? Laundry is so many steps. It's overwhelming. So maybe you don't do that. Maybe you put the clothes, separate clothes. That is one. Take them and put them in the washing machine. That is one. Put them in the dryer. That is one. Take the clothes out, fold them, and put them on the couch or the bed. That is one. Put hangers on them. That is one. That's it. And you just keep going down. Cleaning your bathroom. Clean the sink. That is one. You have to break it down as far as you possibly can. And when I'm talking to people, sometimes they're like, well, I don't want to do that because then I'll have 500 sub-bullets for everything in my life. You're keeping all that up in your brain right now, which is eating all of your energy. And then that causes overwhelm and anxiety. If your brain is like, oh no, we don't actually have to think about those things because then we could just go over to our wall and pick one of them to do, they're all up there, then you create so much more room in your energy and in your mind and in your spirit. Now we can tap into our imagination and creation and just all these other things in life, because we're not consumed by all this like hornet's nest in our brain, because it's right there, or it's on your phone. Like, that has completely changed my life, because I don't just sit there and ruminate constantly like I used to. I'm like, no, I start feeling a little anxious, I'll just go look at my list and pick something from there. It's all right there. I do that with everything. I do it with my business, my finances, getting back to people. I have a list where it's like, I need to talk with this person and this person and this person and this person and this person, and I just check it off after every time. And it gives me dopamine, and I get excited, and I'm like, great. I do it for everything in life. Like, you can break anything in your life down that way, okay? And it's so, so beneficial. So when you're doing this, if you haven't done this activity before, I was talking to somebody yesterday, we're not going to try and do all this to begin with, because you don't even know what it feels like yet to do this. So we're going to pick one section, and then we're going to make as many sub-bullets as we can, and then we're just going to work on that one for like a week or two. You will completely shift your energy towards that thing, because now it's tangible and now you can do it. And you're like, dang, okay, I see the benefits here. And implement the timer thing too, and say, I'm just gonna work on this for 10 minutes. Only 10 minutes every day. What can I do today for 10 minutes? Pick one of the things on the list, work on it. Don't go past 10 minutes if you don't want to, and see the changes that makes in your life. It could just be watch a YouTube video. Call a friend who's really good at that thing. Whatever, look at a blog. It will revolutionize your life. Then you start doing that with all the different areas. And then when you start doing that with all the different areas and knocking out those sub-bullets, your whole entire wheel starts moving together, and then you have a completely different life. That is how you shift your reality when you have neurodivergency, because we can't keep all that stuff up here. Okay? You have to work on it tiny, tiny, tiny bits, and then when you celebrate yourself along the way, you become an incredibly focused and motivated person. Extremely focused and motivated, because you have everything laid out in front of you. Your procrastination, most of the time, is not from you being lazy. It's from you being overwhelmed and having all of that stuff up in your brain. Once you take that stuff out, you have clarity of mind. You can do anything then. It's just we got too much. Okay, up here. Let me read here. Celebrating your life is the hard part. Exactly. That's when you are in a reality that you really don't like, and you're like, I want to make some really big changes here. You have to start on the micro. You have to start as small as you possibly can and work your way forward. Because once you have forward momentum with celebrating and feeling successful for what you are doing, all of those macro big things in your life change. They all shift, because now we are moving forward as a completely different person. You start with, did I take a shower today? I'm a rock star. Did I brush my teeth today? Heck yes, I did. I'm telling you, like, you cannot make these big monumental changes, shifts in your life if we aren't doing the micro right now. And that's why I wanted to share this list thing, because that is a beautiful way that can take you there very quickly, because you're just you have all of the micro celebrations out in front of you now, instead of like, oh my god, I have so much to do all the time, how am I going to do all this? You don't have to do it that way. Okay, I just thought about something. Oh good. So that's not an app. That's called the Wheel of Life. You can find a picture of it on Google. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Just type in Wheel of Life. And you can insert any sections you want. Don't take the ones that you find off of Google. Like, everybody's going to have different things. Like, you might have a travel one. Like, let's take that. So let's say that you want to go to Indonesia. Okay. And you're like, I don't have the money for that. Doesn't matter. What does matter is, can you start looking at pictures? Can you start looking at different hotels that you'd like to stay at? Can you start looking at different places that you'd like to visit? It's more about getting in the energy of the person who's already gone to Indonesia. That's you in the future. And you do that by these little micro shifts. And then all of a sudden the universe is like, oh dang, you really want this? You really want to go? And you're getting prepared and you're doing inspired action. Okay. And they'll send you some way to get there, or the money to get there, right? But you got to be in that energy first. You can't just keep putting off and saying, like, I don't have the money, I can't get there. And then that day will never come. Do what can I do today? What can I do for 10 minutes? Pick one section on the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life is a little bit different than your everyday care stuff, though. Like, you need to have a Wheel of Life, like, goal thing, but then we also need to have a list for that high, medium, and low activities of washing the dishes, cleaning out my microwave, cleaning my car. Maybe one is like, clean out one section of my car. Clean out the other section of my car. Like, break it down as far as you possibly can. And I know that sounds overwhelming, but I promise you, it'll make you feel a gajillion times better to have all that outside of your brain. Okay. This is another list. I know I'm talking about lists, but they will be your best friend. So when you're neurodivergent, a lot of times our energy fluctuates, and we'll have like a really happy, fun day, and then other times we just be sad. We be in the saddies. And then we forget what fun even is. When you have anxiety and you have fight or flight going, your body, from an evolutionary standpoint, constricts, and all you can think about is the stress that you're in, because it's trying to get out, right? But then you forget about all of like the creative and imaginative things, because you're like so hyper focused on being in fight or flight. This has been a savior for me. So I created this list, and it's on my bathroom mirror, and it is 10 things that bring me happiness and joy, that lift my frequency. Because when I'm having an incredibly sad, rough day, I forget all this stuff. I don't know what any of this stuff is. But now I can just go to my bathroom and look on the mirror, and I'm like, okay, what do I have energy for? Again, I have a mixture of low, high, and medium activities, because sometimes I can barely get off the couch, right? So I'm not gonna try and do something that's way too far of a frequency jump. So I'm gonna read them to y'all. So you have some examples, but feel free to put your own. So we have going for a walk barefoot, because grounding is important for people. Okay. Playing with my dogs, listening to Reiki and light language videos, watching funny videos like TikToks, dancing, stretching, coloring, looking at art on Instagram, listening to EDM music, electronic dance music, and listening to an Abraham Hicks chat. You see, it's a mixture of things. Like, some of them are me getting up and moving my body. Some of them are just like, if I can't get off the couch, I can just do one of these. But it's somewhere where I can see it and just go to. Because when I'm sad, I don't remember any of this stuff. And, bonus, this is me when I was little. I have a picture of me above this list. So when I go to it, see I'm smiling and happy, I look at her and I said, we're gonna go do a fun activity together. I love you. I look at her every morning because this picture is me and I'm just so happy here, and it reminds me to stay in that like joyful, magical, blissful like energy. And when I'm sad, go to the mirror, see her, and I say, hey, let's go do something together. Raises my energy immediately. Okay, just looking at her. So if you have a picture of you like this, I suggest that. It's been very helpful. But whatever you want to do for your list, make it fun, like exciting to look at, right? Lists have been my savior. Okay, so habits, rituals, and tools. Rituals and tools are not going to work for you on a consistent basis because neurodivergent people love new and they love fresh. That gives you dopamine. You do something the same way for too long, you're like, I'm never going to do that again. Like, has anybody gotten hyperfixated on a food before and you just listened, or you just ate like bagels? I did that one time for like 6 months every day, and then I have like never eaten a bagel ever again. Like, I cannot stand bagels. Like, right now my hyperfixation is bananas, and I don't even like bananas, and I got on this kick of bananas. Okay. You have to have multiple tools to help you, because if you hyperfixate on one, it's great for a little while and then you just stop doing it. So that's what we do sometimes, is we'll pick up these tools and we'll do them for a little bit, and that's very beneficial, but then the nuance rubs off and then we drop it, but we don't have another tool to pick up. And so that's when our life gets really chaotic and slippery. Hey Lilith. You got to have multiple tools that you can switch in between, right? And then that will keep your life on track. Like, whatever that means for you, you can pick up lots of different tools. Like, I really recommend doing your own research, like on this, on YouTube, and just doing like a very deep dive into neurodivergent tools and picking up the ones you want. Like, I don't journal every day because I can't, because like it's boring sometimes because of that nuance thing. So I will just go to a different tool. Like, maybe I will go meditate or listen to a guided meditation instead, or maybe I will do a dance video, or maybe I will go on a walk. You have to have a different type of toolkit that you can just continuously swing around. Like, even with money rituals, okay? Neurodivergent people that I work with a lot of times have struggles with money. One of those reasons is because it literally doesn't matter what ritual you use, just that you are doing something to keep it present in your mind. But they'll get fixated on one ritual, burn out on it, stop doing it, and then wonder why things stopped rolling in for them. And I'm like, well, because it was working for you and then it didn't, because you got bored with it and then you just dumped it and you didn't pick something back up. Pick up another thing. There's that shame and guilt that comes in of like, oh, I couldn't stick through this, so I just suck. No, it's how your brain works. And you just need a different tool. Look up a different money manifestation tool and do that one for 2 or 3 weeks until you don't like it anymore, and then pick up another one. I do that constantly. I just pick up new rituals and new ways of doing things, and I just ride it out until the dopamine doesn't give me anymore, and then I switch on over to something else. Stop beating yourself up. That is just how your brain works, and it's okay. It's fine. It doesn't matter about the ritual. It's literally if you're just doing something, right? It's fine. Even with these lists that I was talking about, it doesn't matter what you're picking from the list to do, as long as you're picking things from lists, because it's making you feel really great and it's still doing something. So who cares if it's a low energy activity? Like, who cares? Just pick one and do it. Right? Don't force yourself to be in an energy that you're not in, because that takes energy from you. Make your life more convenient for yourself. But we're so, oh, thank you. And hello, glad to have you here in the community. Just make it easier on yourself, and stop beating yourself up for the way that your brain works. And one of, like, I'm not saying, like, a lot of us have had to self-diagnose because of how, like, the healthcare industry is, okay? And I'm not saying to necessarily do that, but sometimes when you're watching videos about neurodiversity, it makes you feel very seen and heard and validated. And even if you don't get that diagnosis, it helps you with the tools, because I come across a lot of people that are neurodivergent, that don't have a diagnosis, and they say, well, obviously this is not going to work for me because I don't know if I am or not. Who cares if you are or not, if that tool works for you? Don't diagnose yourself, but pick up that tool anyway. Maybe you watch some videos and you're like, dang, this is me. Okay. Just take the tool. Okay. It's fine, because before I was diagnosed, I just deep dived in. Like, I didn't even care. I was just like, if this works, great. And I just started picking up tools, and eventually I was diagnosed. So like, just take that what you will, okay? Hey Rose, and hey Michelle. Okay, we're gonna do a couple more here. So getting a Google Calendar and putting every single thing in it. I put every single thing. If my son has events at school, if I need to make phone calls with friends, I schedule it. And I know that rubs people the wrong way sometimes. I don't care, because that's how I function. That's how I take care of my mental health. What time and what day do you want to chat? I don't do open-ended stuff. I also wait to respond to things, because I never know what type of energy I'm going to be in. And so if somebody says, hey, do you want to go do this thing? I'm like, let me get back to you, because I'm also a recovering people pleaser. And so if I'm in the moment, it's hard for me to say no. And so I always tell people, let me get back to you. I never make a response to something in person. I always say, I'll let you know. Because that people pleasing tendency, which a lot of us have, overtakes. And then you just say yes to things, and now we're stressed and anxious thinking about it when we didn't even want to go. Okay? So wait to respond. Put everything in your calendar. Look at it constantly throughout the day if you need to, because then it's out of your brain somewhere. I put all my appointments with clients. I put anything. Appointments like with doctors, my son's events, phone calls, everything in there. So this is going to be one about food that a lot of people don't know about. Thank you for this live. I feel so validated. Yay! Giving me motivation to keep trying different things. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as we're doing something. Okay? No shame, no guilt here. This is a shame and guilt-free zone, because all that is doing is hurting yourself. Okay? Self-love and compassion, and finding different things to do. So I was watching this doctor, and this is another thing too. I was watching this doctor, and he was saying that when you eat bread and potatoes, this is not me saying not to eat bread and potatoes, okay? But when you eat those things, I do too still sometimes, because we have a dopamine deficiency. Not all neurodiversity is dopamine deficiency. This is for specific people, okay? Bread and potatoes make your serotonin spike when you eat them. And so it's the happy chemical, and it makes you temporarily feel like blissful and elated. But because our dopamine is like constantly going down throughout the day, once that serotonin wears off, your dopamine is like way too far down, because you haven't been keeping an eye on it. So like if I sit there and I eat like a ton of potatoes, okay, I feel great, and then afterwards I feel awful. Like really awful. I can regulate that a little bit though by making sure that I'm doing an activity afterwards that gets my dopamine up. So that way it's not a huge drop off afterwards. So I wanted to say that for everybody in case, like, next time you eat a bunch of bread or potatoes, make sure you're doing something for your dopamine. Okay? Something that's an activity to get you up so that way it's not a huge drop off after. My love for potato chips, explain, yeah, it gives people like a temporary like high almost because you've been in that deficit of dopamine, but that drop off is rough. And not saying don't eat it, just do something afterwards to make sure you don't, crash. Let me see here. Oh, the other thing. So who in here waits till the last second to do things? Like waits until the very last second and then you do it. It's like a procrastination thing. Okay? And you're like, I'm gonna wait until the night before to do this 9-page paper. Okay? But it's fine because it works, right? Okay, so there's so much shame and guilt around that, but then at the same time there's not, because we function that way and it's always worked because it like kicks our butt in gear, right? So this doctor, he specializes in ADHD, like he's a neuro brain doctor. He was talking about if you take a neurotypical person, the way that their brain works is they see time differently than us. Like what is time to somebody who is neurodivergent? Okay. But they can split that activity up into different urgency levels and then work on it like a little bit at a time. We actually, neurodivergent people, actually have a missing neural networking part in our brain that doesn't allow us to see the urgency of that thing until right before. It actually doesn't bring up that project up into the frontal part of your brain to alert you to it until it's right beforehand. So he was saying, like, there's all this like shame and guilt of like there must be something wrong with you when it's literally just how your brain functions. Like, you're just different. Now, the way that we counteract that is through these lists and putting dates on them for the smaller things. Like, let's say that you have a project and we say, okay, well, let's research topics. Okay. If you just leave it as one big old chunk like the paper, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be brought up into your front until the day before. But if you bring up, let's look up topics and let's do it by the 16th, okay, then your brain will shift it forward. So that's where these sub-bullets come in, is making it like urgent more for your brain in smaller chunks along the way. So I'll do that with my business things because I do a lot of like workshops and a lot of, just whatever, okay? If I leave the big thing, I will wait as long as I possibly can. But if I make an outline of sub-bullets and I say, okay, I need to do this, then it's like, okay, well, now that first thing is very urgent. Like, I need to do that right now, right? And then I just work my way through it. And then it's not as a big, like, undertaking. So that can combat that executive dysfunctioning thing. Okay. I will talk with someone for 6 hours and not realize it's 2:30. I do that too. So I have to, when I'm talking to people, I only allow myself to talk to them for so long. Like, and I know sometimes that's like, I have a 1 hour or sometimes like a 45-minute window, and then I check out afterwards, or I hyper-focus and I'll be on there too long. So I tell the person up front, I have to be off the phone at 2 p.m. I will not do that. I would say I have to be off the phone at 2:45. And 5 minutes before I have to get off, I'll start telling that other person, like, hey, I got 5 minutes. I have to be off in 5 minutes. And I used to beat myself up for that because I'm like, oh, I'm being rude or whatever. No, my mental health is the most important thing in my life because everything else around me rotates around that. So if I have to tell that person, hey, I have to be off the phone in 45 minutes or 1 hour, that's it. I'm done. And I have to get off. Now, sometimes there's a rollover, yeah, but even then I'm like, nope, we said an hour, we have to be off. And just tell that person, maybe we can do another call a week from now. I do not let that keep continuing. It's kind of like that timer thing. I don't have to set as many timers now because I've been doing this for so long that I have internal timers. So you got to do what works for you. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything that I can answer before we finish up? Also, if you are healing perfectionism or people pleasing, if those are like very deep core inner child wounds that you have, because that kind of comes along with neurodiversity, I just put up a workshop on my YouTube. It's soulharmonymagic, and I talk very much in depth about procrastination and why it's not you being lazy, why it's many different things in your life that can be causing that. It's not because you're lazy, and sometimes we need to take more inspired action, but there are so many different facets to those things. Oh, thank you for the crown. But that's up there as a free workshop. If you want to work together one-on-one, if you want some mentorship and how to manage these things and better understand your empathic abilities and your spiritual gifts and how to make these reality shifts in your life, or better understand neurodiversity, or more tools that you can implement. Thank you. More tools that you can implement in your life, because I get it. I have been in a place in life where my whole life was just a whole hot mess. And it was just like, how do I get out of this hole? Right? Micro shifts. One. But I get what that's like, and that's why I do what I do, because I love helping people like get out of that hole. So if you're there and you need some support, you can check out my mentorship program. There's a link in the description below here on YouTube, or for my people watching live, I have a link up in my profile as well. And I also do one-on-one sessions if you need shorter term support as well. Okay, suggestion about fear of being alone with our thoughts. That's a great live, Mitzi. I'm gonna put that down. That might be, that's a whole live. So we'll make one for its own self. But I love that, because that has been me too, where I could not be alone with my thoughts and feelings. And so I just had a real chaotic life when that was going on. But there are ways that you can work around it and heal it. So I'll add that too. A lot of that's inner child healing, because we didn't learn how to process our emotions, or we are invalidated. There's a lot of different things there, so I'll do one of that. I'm scared of feeling my emotions. Okay, so maybe we'll do that together, like thoughts and emotions. Okay. Feeling, thoughts, and emotions. Or if y'all have suggestions for workshops that you'd like to do, I would love to hear the suggestions. You can put them in the comments down here on YouTube if there's something. I really specialize in like neurodiversity and inner child healing, but also some esoteric things, so like Akashic records or soul contracts or chakras. So if you have anything in those areas, love doing workshops. Okay, feeling, thoughts, and emotions. Or like being a light worker or an empath. I love helping people with those things too. Okay. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that for saying I have beautiful energy. That is so sweet. Okay, recovering people pleaser. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. And a lot of times it's not, a lot of these things are not your fault. This is just how we have been programmed and raised. Trauma. So check out that workshop I have on my YouTube. I go real in depth into that topic. Okay. I'll be contacting you for Akashic records. Oh, yay, fun. Okay. Let's see. Embracing your ego intuition. Love that. Embracing your shadow side. That's a fun one. Do y'all want me to tell you the story about this morning when I actually had to do that? So I've had empathic dreams. Yeah, you can schedule a session and we can talk about your dreams, because sometimes you're having like prophetic dreams, or sometimes like dreams of your subconscious trying to work out stuff in your present day reality, but then sometimes you're like astral traveling and doing work and stuff. So there's like a lot of different things that go on with dreams. I need to work on reconnecting with my Akashic records. Yeah, it's very healing. Sometimes like you're not meant to be doing like that deep work like all the time, you know what I mean? Like that can be toxic too. Like we don't need to be digging in there all the time. Sometimes we just need to do integration. So have compassion with yourself too. Okay. So this morning, abundance and like money mindset is something that I've always had to like continuously work on, because it's like a very, very deep core wound of mine, not just here in this incarnation, but also like in other incarnations. And so I have to, like, this is what I mean by we need to keep doing some type of ritual. So one of mine is going back in and continuously working with my inner children, because that's where that's coming from. Because I grew up in a household where it's like money's evil, rich people, you know, like are evil, like all this stuff, right? Whatever. So I get in meditation and I'm doing a check-in with them. And, oh, hold on one second. I'm going to pause the live for like 2 seconds. You'll just wait 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I thought my son needed something. So I get in meditation and my inner children are having some like self-limiting beliefs come up, and instead of like shushing them and telling them like, oh, don't do that or whatever, because that was me in the past, I said, tell me about them. I want you to tell me about all the self-limiting beliefs. How are we feeling? And it doesn't feel good, right? It's yucky, like to feel those things and to hear those things, but that's okay. Like they're alerting me to that because they are nervous and they're scared, and that's fine. But if I ignore them, then it gets louder and then it starts overtaking. So I was like, tell me all the stuff. Like I was coming in as the higher self. And then I talked to them and I said, let's think of some examples where that's not true. And then we ran through, oh, thank you. For those watching on YouTube, people send me emoji gifts on here, so I know y'all can't see them over on your side. Thank you, Lilith. But I was like, let's go through examples of how that's not real, because that's how your subconscious works. You have to give it proof that that is not true. Like one is like, I have to work for money. That's a self-limiting belief, because I found money before. I find money on the floor all the time. Dimes, nickels, the amount doesn't matter. It's that you're finding abundance. Okay. So I'm like, one of my kids said, we have to work our butt off for money. And I'm like, no. I was like, where is that in an example that that's not true? And then we talked about finding money and she was like, oh yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we invited couch money. So we invited money to come and have a party with us. Like, I see money like a person, like a consciousness form. And she is thriving and she's so happy and joyful. And like when I envision money, she's an actual like person. So we invited her to come in and I said, what do we want to do with her? And they're like, throw a party. And I was like, great, let's throw a party. Yay, fun. And we're dancing and singing. And I said, let's turn around and look at what we were looking at money before I got in here. We looked over and there was like this really dark, nasty, like shadow realm. And there was like this monster that was over there. I was like, is that how y'all are seeing money? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but what about her? Talking about like this fun, whimsical, magical, whatever. And they're like, we would rather be over here. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And one of my inner children said, which is very sweet, it was, I don't want to leave that monster there in that dark hole. They said, can we invite him to the party? And I just started like bawling my eyes out. And I was like, yes, of course. I was like, he's just scared and hurt. And he's like lashing out. I said, of course he can come to the party. We'll put a party hat on him. And we invited him over and like integrated him in. That's the shadow self. That is us trying to alert fears that our ego is having. It doesn't have to be a big scary thing. Like, I'm thankful that he was there because he's really trying to keep my inner children safe. He's trying to scare them to keep them in comfortability and say, hey, we need to catastrophize to make us kick our butt in gear and stress and get so anxious so that we can get this money. Okay? Because that's worked in the past. That's that icky, yucky, masculine, capitalistic energy. And I said, we love him. We're just going to help him have more fun over here. I'm very grateful for him trying to keep my kids safe. Like, thank you. Please come to the party. Okay? Let's help you shed some of those layers so you can have fun too, right? Sorry about my dog over here. She's coughing. But come over here with us. But we're not trying to absolve him or get rid of him. And maybe he's not in the best mood, and, you know, that's fine. But we're not going to try and, like, get rid of him because he's there for a reason. Your self-limiting beliefs are there to help you grow. If you didn't have self-limiting beliefs, you would stay the same person constantly. You would never evolve. You have to have a backboard to spring off of. So that version of my shadow side, if he wasn't there, then I would just make the same money for the rest of my life. It would never push me to go further. But I also can't let him consume me. I cannot let him whisper in my ear and be the one who's running the ship. Like, thanks, you're over there, but we're not going to do that. But I'm thankful that you're reflecting back to me what I need to learn and grow from. That's how you integrate your ego, but not let it control you. Sometimes we need imagery like that for our subconscious, because when we're talking about these very big esoteric concepts of energy, like ego or money, we need to personify them. We need to give them their own consciousness, because then we can talk to it. Like, I talk to money like it's a person. Or I talk to my shadow side like it's a person. I talk to my inner children as their own consciousness beings. That is how you take your healing to the next level. Okay. I needed to hear that today. Yay! I keep picking up fairy realm with your energy. Oh, thank you. I am part fairy. I have a fairy incarnation. And I try and, like, push that out of, like, my auric field, too. Especially, like, I put these earrings on today. Fun fact, I was talking to somebody earlier. I don't know if she's still in here. But, like, if you wear jewelry and things, you can ask it to do things for you, just like crystals. Like, when I put these on, I'm like, oh, can you help me, you know, project more of my fairy energy? What about being careful about what we consume, like TV? Oh, yeah, 1000%. Whatever you put, the universe works like an algorithm. Whatever you put in is what you get out. You watching a whole bunch of drama and scary stuff and music that makes you sad and toxic, toxic music talking bad about women or whatever, that is what you will get in your experience outside of you. And I'm not saying that we're all, perfect, because I'll be watching things sometimes and I have to catch myself. It will shift your outer reality, just like your algorithm on TikTok or any social media. What you put your energy and intention to is what you get more of. It's not just social media, it's life. Like, I used to watch, like, stuff that was, like, wild and listen to stuff, but then I would see more of that in my outer experience. Right? Like, if you are trying to get in the dating scene and you're watching all these videos talking about how terrible the world is with dating and how awful it is, then your brain will bring you examples of how that's true. Or if you watch people talking about how broke they are, your brain will reset your lenses to prove that to you. You have to be very mindful about what you're listening to, because you're programming yourself. Especially when you're listening to, like, TV or you're listening to music, you're kind of getting, like, in this theta state where your subconscious is opening up because you're relaxed, right? A lot of people sit and like watch TV and kind of get, like, in this hypnotic state and are mindful of what they're consuming, and it's getting soaked in, and then it's projecting out in front of you in your outer reality, right? And it's nobody's fault. It's just like how it works, right? And we're not always going to catch those things, but it does program you. Whatever you feed your brain over and over and over and over and over again, that's how affirmations work, is what you'll see outside of you. How do you break that cycle? Program, I have financial blocks I need to overcome. Inner child healing, you got to find out where that stuff came from. If you're trying to, and if you want to do a session together, we can, where I can like explain it more in depth, because that's like a big one, and maybe I'll do a live on that too. But you got to figure out where it came from, because you cannot heal it until you find out what the root is. So if you're trying to heal like your adult conscious mind, but that stuff came from childhood, you have to go back and heal that 5, 9, 12-year-old at that consciousness level, or else it's not going to be healed, because that's where it started from. And you are literally interacting with your world at that consciousness level of that 12-year-old or that 9-year-old that heard that money is the root of all evil and all this stuff. Your conscious brain knows that's not true, but your subconscious, where your inner children are, that is what they know. Right? So like when I was talking about working with my inner kids earlier with teaching them that money equals fun and joy and magic and whimsy, I actually had to like go in and speak with them and like show them examples of that on their level. Because I know that, like I know as an adult, but that's not where my stuff came from. I have to talk to them. Okay. And I have a lot of inner child healing videos on my YouTube. If you want to like dive deeper into that and like how to start connecting with them, or on a deeper level, I have a lot. I specialize in that, so I have tons of videos on it. Okay, finding the core wound. When you find that core wound, sometimes I do want to say that sometimes there's a core wound under that core wound. So like healing is forever. Okay, sometimes I'll talk to clients and they're like, when am I going to be done healing? I'm like, never. What you can do is flip perspectives and not be attached to narratives and not be attached to the past and still live in the present, but like be mindful of those things and change your perspectives in the way that you interact with them. But you can always heal on deeper levels. Now, sometimes you're in a cycle of like very deep healing. And then other times it's integration and you're not meant to like dig through more layers. That's when it gets toxic. We don't need to be healing 24/7. Okay. Also, having fun is healing. Having a good time and enjoying yourself. Because some of us didn't get that when we were a child. So what do you think is more beneficial for them? To have fun and enjoy life, or to talk about trauma all day long? Okay, so just be mindful of that. Like healing can be fun activities, right? Going on a trip to go on some roller coasters. Maybe you had a really shitty childhood, excuse my language, but that's gonna be more beneficial for you than sitting there and like digging through all that memories and stuff. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do have a lot of videos on YouTube if anybody wants to watch them. Do you talk to your inner child or shadow side during meditation? Yeah, I did that earlier when I was talking to my inner children and my shadow side at the same time, which was very interesting. And they weren't scared of him anymore. They were petrified of him. And I was like, he's not scary. He's just a little sad. Okay, but he can come over to the party with us. Okay, everybody. Again, this will be up on YouTube if you want to watch it, if you want to take notes from it, if there's anything that you want to implement. Remember, don't implement all the tools at one time. One. Okay. And let it integrate in and start working for you. Now we can go on to something else, because we also have a tendency to like do too much. Okay. One tool. If you do want a one-on-one session for inner child healing, people pleasing, trauma healing, learning how to better manage your gifts or empathic abilities, ADHD, I do one-on-one sessions. I also have a whole mentorship program where we work together for a longer period of time to help you make more forward movement in your life. So there's information for those down here in the description, and then there's information in my bio for those who are live. I mean, remember to like and subscribe or follow if you want to see more workshops like this. And I wrote down everybody's notes for new workshops as well, or if you have ideas, comment them in YouTube. All right, I will see y'all later. Have a